Oh, have I got a juicy one for you today. The architect of Project 2025, which is the far-right blueprint underpinning many of the attacks US President Donald Trump has launched on American democracy and human rights, was supposed to speak before Prime Minister Mark Carney's cabinet on Thursday. Yes, for real. Except he canceled on them. That's right, Kevin Roberts, the president of the hyper-conservative think tank, the Heritage Foundation, who just last year claimed the United States is, quote, in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be. Canceled on Carney. Not the other way around. The Prime Minister's office confirmed this in a statement they sent to me. Quote, regrettably, yeah, they actually said regrettably, Dr. Roberts' office indicated that he can no longer join us to present today. But Carney's spokesperson isn't the only liberal I heard from. In fact, for this column I've reported in partnership with the wonderful folks at the Tyee, I spoke to several liberal sources, including sitting MPs, on the condition of anonymity so they could speak freely without fear of repercussions. They were, shockingly, pretty unhappy about the decision to invite the guy behind the plan to dismantle some key aspects of US democracy and human rights. One sitting liberal MP told me it's, quote, hard to understand how someone like that would have made the list. Then they added, to put it politely. Another sitting liberal MP told me, quote, it's a betrayal of liberal voters, undermines the core theme of our campaign, and is an utter disgrace for a self-respecting democracy facing the rise of fascism next door. This man is a key architect of Donald Trump's assault on the US Constitution, and it's completely inappropriate that he be invited to address the federal cabinet. So how did this actually happen? Well, Roberts was one of several guests who were set to speak to Carney and his ministers as they gathered for 2 days of meetings in the Greater Toronto area this week. And despite his cancellation, Carney's office confirmed the government intends to keep in touch with Roberts. Carney's spokesperson said, quote, our team will continue further engagement and discussions with him and other leading US policy figures soon regarding Canada's economic and security relationship with the United States. Supriya Dwivedi, who worked as a senior advisor to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, told me over text that she found the decision mystifying. Quote, it's honestly mind-boggling why any liberal government would invite a key figure involved in the horror show that is Project 2025. The Carney government has not made clear what particular insight or expertise this person would have had into active trade negotiations and Trump's mindset within them. But what is clear is that Project 2025 seeks to erode basic norms of democracy, limit women's access to reproductive health, and to roll back rights for the LGBTQ+ community. Yeah, I really don't see how continuing to engage with and hear a guy like Roberts' perspectives would actually benefit the Canadian government. And Carney's PMO didn't immediately respond to follow-up questions I had for them requesting that clarification. That said, Carney's Deputy Chief of Staff, Braden Cayley, tried to provide additional context on social media where he said, quote, Dr. Roberts was invited to speak about the American conservative movement and his perspectives on the Canada-US relationship. To advance the relationship, Canada will continue to engage with leading US policy figures of all persuasions on the rapidly transforming political landscape. Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne also told reporters, quote, listen, we invite different guests to come to our events. We wanted to hear a different perspective. But here's the thing. The danger Roberts' ideology poses to democracy and human rights has become chillingly clear. With each executive order and autocratic action Trump rips from Project 2025's pages, he jolts the dystopian plan to life, creating a monstrous reality. Less than a month after Trump's inauguration, Politico found 37 aspects of Project 2025 had already been implemented through executive orders. This included banning transgender people from the military, withdrawing from the World Health Organization and the Paris Climate Accords, restricting funding that helps abortion access, cutting foreign aid, detaining migrants with the help of local and state law enforcement, and much more. So while the argument from Carney's camp seems to be that it would be useful to gain some insight into the kind of thinking that drives this cruel decision-making, that understanding might be difficult to glean from somebody who is still very actively engaged in an ideological crusade. Like, just 2 days ago, Roberts posted on social media that Americans, quote, must meet the long campaign being waged against the family with an equally long offensive campaign to restore it. In the accompanying video, he said, quote, the family's decline is not a law of nature, nor is it an unstoppable force. It's the product of human choices, and human choices can change. Indeed, if we hope to restore the family and save our republic, they must change. Sweet. There is no reason to assume that Roberts would set aside this crusade when he speaks to Carney and his ministers. They can't trust anything he tells them, nor can they assume his words aren't carefully chosen to plant some kind of nefarious seed into the mind of the Canadian government. And look, maybe they hope to outthink him, but according to one current Liberal staffer who spoke to me, also under the condition of anonymity for fear of career repercussions, Carney's government doesn't seem to be doing much thinking at all. The staffer told me, quote, the way the Carney government seems to operate to me is act first, think later. The communication to staff is poor, and we often have to rely on news to find out what is going on, which leaves us unprepared to respond to questions from constituents. The only way to get answers from higher ups is to phrase it as, what can I tell constituents? So if they're going to keep flirting with the architects of America's democratic decline, Carney's government will have to get better at explaining itself. Not only to the Canadian public, but also to members of its own team. You can head over to the Times website to read my full piece, and when you come back, let me know. What do you think of all this?